everyone, welcome back to Study Room. My name is Angel and today we'll be studying chapter number 9 of class 9, that is The Bond of Love. So, about the author. The Bond of Love is written by author Kenneth Anderson, who was an Indian-born British writer and hunter who wrote books about his adventures in jungles of South India. Let's know more about the theme of the story. So, the story is about the mutual love between animals and humans, shown through the relationship between the bear and the author's wife. It also discusses an animal's right to dignity and freedom. So, this chapter tells us about the bond between a human and an animal, how an animal also has feelings, and how it can be distinguished easily with its features, and they also react to things, they also show love and affection. So, all these things, all these connections, everything, all these little details, we will know more about in this chapter. So let's get started. I will begin with Bruno, my wife's pet sloth bear. I got him for her by accident. 2 years ago, we were passing through the sugarcane fields near Mysore. People were driving away the wild pigs from the fields by shooting at them. So, author got the sloth bear for her wife by accident. Okay. So 2 years ago, when author was in Mysore in sugarcane field. Mysore is in South India, in Karnataka, and people were driving away the wild pigs away from the fields by shooting at them. Okay. Now, some were shot and some escaped. We thought that everything was over when suddenly a black sloth bear came out panting in the hot sun. Okay, so when people were shooting at the pigs, okay, so what happened when they thought that everything was over? Then suddenly a black sloth bear, this is a sloth bear, a sloth bear came, okay, and okay, sorry, I missed one thing. And he came out panting in the hot sun. Okay, now panting it means like having deep breaths, like you see dogs panting half an hour that we say in Hindi. Okay, so now I will not shoot a sloth here wantonly, but unfortunately for the poor beast, one of my companions did not feel that way about it and promptly shot the bear on the spot. So here the author is saying that he won't shoot a sloth bear wantonly. Wantonly means without any reason, without any particular reason. Like if the bear is not harming him or not giving him any problems, then why will he shoot him? So he's saying that he won't shoot him without any particular reason. But unfortunately, the poor beast here is sloth bear. Okay, one of my companions shot the poor beast. Okay, so author's companion shot the poor beast. Okay, so as we watched the fallen animal, we were surprised to see that the black fur on its back moved and left the prostrate body. Then we saw it. It was a baby bear that had been riding on its mother's back when the sudden shot had killed her. So here the author is saying that they were surprised when they saw, uh, okay, so when they shot the sloth bear, what happened that they saw something move. Okay, they saw a black fur on its back moved and left the prostrate body. Prostrate body means a body facing downwards. Okay, now the black fur is what? It's the sloth bear's baby. Okay, so that baby had been riding on its mother's back, okay, when the sudden shot had killed her. So the mother died because of that shot. Now, the little creature ran around its prostrate parent, making a pitiful noise. I ran up to it in an attempt to capture it. It scooted into the sugarcane field. So here the little creature is referred to as the sloth bear's baby. Okay, so the baby ran around to its around its prostrate parent, the parent whose body is lying downwards, like whose stomach is like this, for example, How can I explain this? So so this, for example, like this. He's laying like this. Okay, so this is called prostate. Hmm. Okay, so the baby was moving around his mother, and then what happened? He was making pitiful noise. Okay, and so what happened? Then the author ran up to it in an attempt to catch him, and then what? It instead scooted into the sugarcane field. Scooted means ran away. So the baby ran into the sugarcane field. Following it with my companions, I was at last able to grab it by the scruff of its neck, while it snapped and tried to scratch me with its long hooked claws. So here the scruff of its neck means that taking a hold of the back of the neck or a collar very roughly. Okay, so that this is meant by scruff of its neck. That is taking a hold of the back of the neck or the collar very roughly. Okay, so followed it with my companion. So author is saying that at last he was able to grab the baby by the scruff of its neck like that, while it snapped and tried to scratch me with its long hooked claws. But the baby tried to scratch him with his long hooked claws. Okay. We put it in one of the gunny bags we had brought, and when I got back to Bangalore, I duly presented it to my wife. She was delighted. She at once put a colored ribbon around its neck, and after discovering the cub was a boy, she christened it as Bruno. Okay, so here the author is saying that he put the baby in the gunny bags which they have brought with themselves. Okay, and then when he got back to Bangalore, okay, he gave the bear to his wife, and she was very delighted. Delighted means very pleased or happy. Hmm. And she at once put a colored ribbon around its neck. Okay, ribbon around its neck like this. Okay. And after discovering that the cub was a boy, so she christened it. Christen means named it as Bruno. Okay. Now, Bruno soon took to drinking milk from a bottle. It was but a step further, and within a very few days, he started eating and drinking everything else. So Bruno started to drink milk from a bottle very soon, and also not very late enough. He also started to drink everything else and eat everything else as well. Now, and everything is the right word, for he ate porridge made from many ingredients, vegetables, fruit, nuts, meat, especially pork, curry and rice regardless of condiments and chilies, bread, eggs, chocolates, sweets, pudding, ice cream, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so this shows that so Bruno literally ate everything. So everything was a justified word when the author said that he ate everything. He can eat everything. Okay, so everything includes porridge and vegetables, fruits, nuts, meat, especially pork, curry, rice, condiments. Condiments means spices, chilies, breads, eggs, chocolates, sweets, pudding, etc. etc. And here porridge is dalia, oats or oats porridge. So that is porridge. Okay. Now, as for drink, milk tea, coffee, lime juice, aerated water, buttermilk, beer, alcoholic liquor, and in fact anything liquid. It all went down with relish. The bear became very attached to our two Alsatian dogs and to all the children of the tenants living in our bungalow. So, um, along with the food, Bruno also used to drink everything, every beverage, anything that is milk, tea, coffee, lime juice, aerated drinks, water, aerated water, buttermilk, beer, alcoholic liquor, and in fact anything liquid. Okay, so he pretty much eat and drink everything. It all went down with relish. So it relish means with the enjoyment. Okay, so here it means that he ate and drank all the things very with full enjoyment. Okay, the bear became very attached to our two Alsatian dogs. Alsatian dogs is a breed of dogs, as you can see in the picture, and to all the children of the tenants living in our bungalow. Okay, and all the children of the tenants who used to live in the bungalow were also very attached to the bear, or you can say Bruno. Now, he was left quite free in his younger days and spent his time in playing, running into the kitchen, and going to sleep in our beds. One day, an accident befell him. I put down poison, that is barium carbonate, to kill the rats and mice that had got into my library. So, when Bruno was young, in his younger days, he used to spend his time while playing, running into the kitchen, and then going to sleep in their beds. And then, accidentally, one day, uh, Bruno ate the poison, rat poison, which was put by the author to kill the rats in his library. Okay. Now, Bruno entered the library as he often did, and he ate some of the poison. Paralysis set into the extent that he could not stand on his feet. But he dragged himself on his stumps to my wife, who called me. I guessed what had happened. Okay, so Bruno entered the library, ate the poison, and then because of that side effects of the poison, paralysis set to the extent that he couldn't even stand on his feet. What is paralysis? That inability to move your body, like body parts like hands or legs. Sometimes you can't move your legs, sometimes you can't move your hands, or sometimes you can't move anything. So there's different types of paralysis. So Bruno wasn't able to stand on his feet, but he managed to drag himself on his stumps uh, to author's wife. Okay, and then author's wife called author, and then author guessed that what could have happened. Now, off I rushed in the car to the vet's residence. A case of poisoning, tame bear, barium carbonate. What to do? Out came his medical books and a feverish reference to index begin. What poison did you say, sir? Barium carbonate. Okay, so author rushed off to the vet's residence, okay, and then he said that it's a case of poisoning. Tame bear. Barium carbonate. So he was saying all these things that about the poison, etc., etc., and he's saying what to do. So out came his medical books and a feverish reference to index begin. This is talking about the doctor. So he looked into his medical books and looked something similar to a feverish reference in the index. And then Bacon said that, what poison did you say, sir? Then the author replied, barium carbonate. Now, oh yes, barium, salts. Barium carbonate. Symptoms. Paralysis, treatment, injections of. Just a minute, sir. I bring my syringe and the medicine. I dash back to the car. So the doctor here is saying all these things that, oh yes, so he is looking into in the index. First word is looking for B, then Ba, and then barium, and then salts. Just how we look in the dictionary, right? So and then when he found it, he said that okay, the symptoms are paralysis, and the treatment is the injection of. Okay, and then he said, wait a minute, I'll bring my syringes, injection, and the medicine. And then he dashed back to the car. So Bruno still floundering about on his stumps, but clearly weakening rapidly. Some vomiting, rebreathing, with heaving flanks and gaping mouth. So Bruno was floundering. Floundering means struggling to move. Okay, and he was heaving flanks. Heaving means taking deep breaths. Okay. So Bruno still floundering about on his stumps, still struggling to move on his stumps, but clearly weakening rapidly. Okay, so he was, you can see that he was getting weak and he was vomiting, heavily breathing with heavy flanks, taking deep breaths and gaping mouth. Gaping means wide open mouth. Okay. Now, hold him, everybody. In goes the hypodermic. Bruno squeals. 10 cubic centimeter of the antidote enters his system without a drop being wasted. So here hypodermic means a long needle used to give injections under the skin. Okay. So the doctor was saying, hold him everybody. In goes the hypodermic. In goes a long needle which is used to give injection under the skin. So Bruno squeals, he screams, and then 10 cubic centimeter of antidote enters his system without a drop being wasted. So 10 cubic centimeter of the antidote. Antidote is a medicine. Okay, that is given to counteract the effect of poison. Okay, so 10 cc of antidote was given to Bruno, and then without a drop being wasted. Okay, a single drop wasn't wasted. Now, 10 minutes later, condition unchanged. Another 10 cubic centimeter injected. 10 minutes later, breathing less, stertorous. Bruno can move his arms and legs a little, although he cannot stand yet. So here, stertorous means noisy. And okay, so after 10 minutes, condition wasn't changed. So another 10 cubic centimeter of antidote was injected, and another 10 minutes later, he was breathing less heavily. He wasn't making many noises, and then Bruno can move his arms and legs a little, although he cannot stand it. Okay, 30 minutes later. Bruno gets up and has great feet. He looks at us disdainfully, as much as to say, what's barium carbonate to a big black bear like me? Bruno is still eating. Okay, so 30 minutes later, Bruno gets up and has a great feed. He ate a lot of food, okay, and then after that, he looks at everyone disdainfully. Disdainfully means disapprovingly. So he looked at them disapprovingly, like he's saying that, like, why are you all standing here? Why are you all looking at me like that? What's the matter? And then he's like, what's the barium carbonate to a big black bear like me? Like, what is that? A small thing in comparison to me. A big black bear. Okay. So Bruno is still eating. Now, another time he found nearly 1 gallon of old engine oil, which I had drained from the sump of the Studebaker and was keeping as a weapon against the inroads of termites. He promptly drank the lot, but it had no ill effects whatever. So here the sump means uh, the base of an internal combustion system, combustion engine, okay, which serves as the reservoir of oil for the lubrication system. Okay, so sump is a part of car. Okay, and here Studebaker is also an old American car. And 1 gallon is a measurement quantity. Okay, so now let's see it again. Another time, what happened? An incident came that uh, Bruno drank 1 gallon of old engine oil, which I had drained from the sump of the Studebaker, which the author has drained from the stump, that is base of an internal combustion engine, which serves as the reservoir of oil for the lubrication system. Okay, of which car? Studebaker, who is in which is an old American car, and was keeping as a weapon against the inroads of termites. Termites are demer. Termites are the insects which eats wood. Okay, so the oil which the author had drained from the stump was just as a he kept it as a weapon against the termites. Okay, so Bruno promptly drank the lot, but it had no ill effects whatever. Okay, there weren't any ill effects. Now the months rolled on, and Bruno had grown many times the size he was when he came. He had equaled the Alsatians in height, okay, and had even outgrown them, but was just as sweet, just as mischievous, just as playful. So, after months, Bruno had grown many times the sizes. He has grown, into a much bigger size. He had even outgrown the Alsatians. He was equal in the height of Alsatian, but still have outgrown them. Okay, but he was still. It doesn't matter how much big his size was, but he was just as sweet and just as mischievous and just as playful as before. Okay, and he was very fond of us all. Above all, he loved my wife, and she loved him too. She had changed his name from Bruno to Baba, a Hindustani word signifying small boy. Okay, so from Bruno, the name was changed to Baba, and Baba means small boy. Okay, now, and he could do a few tricks too. At the command, Baba, wrestle, or Baba, box, he vigorously tackled anyone who came forward for a rough and tumble. Okay, so they also taught Baba how to do a few tricks. Okay, like Baba wrestle and Baba box. Now, give him a stick and say, Baba, hold gun, and he pointed the stick at you. Ask him, Baba, where's baby? And he immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood which he had carefully concealed in his straw bed. Okay, so when you say that give command to Baba that Baba hold the gun, then he will point the stick at you. Okay, and then when you'll ask him that Baba, where's the baby? So he will immediately cradle and affectionately a stump of wood that he had carefully concealed. Concealed means hidden. That he has hidden the stump of wood in his straw bed. Okay. But because of the tenant's children, poor Bruno or Baba had to be kept chained most of the time. Then my son and I advised my wife, and friends advised her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. He was getting too big to keep at home. Okay, so because of the children of tenants, Baba had to be chained most of the times. Then because of that, the author's son and he himself and his wife's friends also advised her wife that advised his wife to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. Okay, because he was getting too big to be kept at home. Okay. After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. Hastily, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? He replied, yes. So after some weeks, author's wife at least thought about it. Okay, and then before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Curator of the zoo means someone who is in charge of the zoo. Okay. Okay. So Uh, the writer is saying that did he want a tame bear for his collection? Then the curator replied as yes. The zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry, a distance of 87 miles, and Baba was packed off. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense we were relieved. My wife was inconsolable. Okay, so the zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry, and the distance was approximately 87 miles. Okay, and then Baba was packed off, and they all missed him greatly, but in a sense, they were relieved too. Okay, but author's wife was inconsolable. She was very, very sad. She was, a lot of, she was very depressed. Now, she wept and fretted for the first few days. She would not eat a thing. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. How was Baba? So she wept means she cried. Fretted means worried, unhappy, not relaxed. Okay, so the author's wife was very sad. Okay, she cried a lot and she was very worried. She wasn't happy and was not relaxed. And for a few days, she wouldn't even eat a thing. Then, after a lot of time, she wrote a number of letters to the curator, asking him that how was Papa. No. Back came the replies. Well, but fretting. He refuses food too. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. So the curator replied to the author's wife's letters that Baba is doing well, but he's also fretting. He's also uh, unhappy. He's also very worried, and he refuses food too. He also doesn't eat. Then after that, author's wives requested her friends who were visiting Mysore and then begged them to please go visit the zoo and just see that how Baba was getting along, how Baba was doing. Okay. They reported that he was well, but looked very thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. For 3 months, I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. So their friends told them that Baba was well, but he was very thin and sad. And the keepers at the zoo also said that he was fretting. So for 3 months, he managed his wife, author managed his wife to, keep herself from visiting Mysore. Restrain means to stop. Okay, so he managed to stop his wife from visiting Mysore for 3 months. But then she said one day, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go myself by bus or train. So I took her by car. Friends had conjectured that the bear would not recognize her. Okay, so one day, author's wife said, I must see Baba. I have to see Baba. Okay, either you take me by car or I'll go myself by bus or train. So author took her by car. So the friends conjectured means formed an opinion by guessing. Okay, so their friends were guessing that the bear would not recognize her. Okay, her wife. Even the author had thought so too. Okay, I had thought so too. But while she was yet some yards from his gates, Baba saw her and recognized her. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him, petted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. So even the author thought that the bear would not recognize his wife. But while she was yet some yards from his gates, even then also Baba saw her and recognized her. So he howled with happiness. He was making noises, full of happiness. And then the author's wife, ran up to him, petted him through the bar, and he stood on his head in delight, in happiness. A great pleasure, okay? Now, for the next 3 hours, she would not leave that cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and whatnot. Then, closing time came and we had to leave. So, for the next 3 hours, author's wife would not leave the cage. She gave him everything, all the time, all kind of foods like tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and etc. etc. Then, closing time came, and then author's wife had to leave. Now, my wife cried bitterly. Baba cried bitterly. Even the hardened curator had the keepers felt depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen next. So, author's wife and Baba cried very much, cried bitterly, and even the hardened curator means curator who looked like very rough and tough, that who doesn't have so much emotions, even he and the keepers felt depressed. So as for the author, he knew that what was going to happen next. Okay. Yeah. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator. May I have my Baba back? Hesitantly, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. I cannot give away his government property. So, author's wife said that to the curator that can I have my Baba back? But because now as Baba was zoo's property or you can say government property, so the curator can't just give her back. Okay. So what happened then? But if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore agrees, certainly you may have him back. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow. Okay, so the curator said that I cannot give you Baba back because it's a government property, but if my boss, who is the superintendent at Bangalore, if he agrees, then you may certainly have him back. Then they went to Bangalore and visited superintendent's bungalow. Okay. A tearful pleading. Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? He was a kind-hearted man and consented. Okay, so author's wife, pleaded to the superintendent that Baba and I are both worried and very unhappy, and we are just very fretting for each other. Okay, so can you please give him back to me? Hmm. So because the superintendent was a kind-hearted man, so he gave the permission. He said yes. Okay. Now, not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. But we went to Mysore again, armed with the superintendent's letter. Okay, so the superintendent also wrote the letter to the curator, but telling him that to lend them the cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. But the author and his wife went to Mysore again and armed with the superintendent's letter. Now, Baba was driven into a small cage and hoisted on top of the car. The cage was tied securely, and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Once home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in our compound. So Baba was driven into a small cage, and the cage was placed on top of the car and was tied securely. And then with the slow and careful movements of the car, they returned to Bangalore. Okay, and the return was accomplished. Okay, successful. And once they were home, a squad of coolies, like coolies for the workers or laborers, were engaged for special work in our compound. Compound means extra area, either in front of their house, in the backyard, which is have a lot of space. Okay, now an island was made for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. Okay, and was surrounded by a dry pit or moat 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. A wooden box that once housed fowls was brought and put on the island for Baba to sleep in at night. So, this is an island, was made for Baba, which was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. And then it was surrounded by a dry pit or moat, which was 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. A wooden box that once housed fowls was brought and put on the island for Baba to sleep in at night. So, a box which was for fowls. Fowls means chickens, hens, etc. Okay, that box which used to be of chicken and hen. Then now it was placed at the island for Baba so he can sleep there at the night. Okay. Now, straw was placed inside to keep him warm, and his baby, the gnarled stump, along with his gun, the piece of bamboo, both of which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back for him to play with. Okay, so in that box, straws were placed to keep him warm, and his baby, that was the stick, gnarled stump, along with his gun, the piece of bamboo, both which have been preserved sentimentally as a kind of nishani. You may say that. Okay, why? Because when Baba was sent to zoo, so kind of just to have his memory of that. Okay, sentimentally they preserved all those things, and then both of them were put back into that box again so that he can play with them. Now, in a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage onto the island, and Baba was released. He was delighted, standing on his hind legs. He pointed his gun and cradled his baby. My wife spent hours sitting on chair while he sat on her lap. Okay, for in a few days, the coolies hoisted means raised the cage onto the island, and then Baba was released. He was very happy. He was standing on his hind legs, pointing his gun, cradling his baby, and because of all that, his wife also spent hours sitting on the chair where Bruno used to sit on her lap. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. The way my wife reaches the island and leaves it is interesting. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of the mango tree with the loop at its end. Okay, so at the branch of the mango tree, he just tied a loop. Okay, and a rope and a loop, and then author's wife used to go back from the island to the other side of the island. Okay, now putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other. Okay, to bridge the 6 foot gap, remember it's a 6 foot gap. To bridge the 6 foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pit. Okay, the same what I said before. She used to, put her one foot in the loop and then kicks off with the other and then swing around the island. Okay, now the return journey is made the same way from island to the other side of the island. But who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics? Hmm? So here author is saying that after reading this chapter, okay, so you guys also think, okay, what do you think that? Does the sloth bear not have any sense of affection? He did. He definitely did. He loved author's wife. Okay, what about the memory? He definitely had memory of the author's wife because he recognized her at the zoo. And about the individual characteristics, though the bear also have individual characteristics, he have characteristics like you can identify him very easily because of even he knows tricks like the gun and the baby, etc., etc. So you can identify him. So he definitely have individual characteristics. Okay. So now no one can deny that there isn't any bond of love between a human and an animal or his pet. So there's definitely a bond of love, a connection. Okay. So with this, our chapter has ended, and now let's have a look at the key terms. So number one, wantonly means for no good reason. Scooted means ran away. Prostrate means lying on the ground facing downwards. Hypodermic means a long needle used to give an injection under the skin. Floundering means struggling to move. Condiments means spices. Stertorous breathing means noisy breathing as in snoring. Snoring means karate lena. Okay. Studebaker, an old American car, as you can see in this picture. Curator is a person who is in charge of the zoo. Okay. Fretting means worried, unhappy, not relaxed. Conjectured means formed an opinion by guessing. Gnarled means rugged, twisted. Okay, so now let's have a look on the questions. Number 1. I got him for her by accident. Who says this? Who do him and her refer to? What is the incident referred to here? Okay, so who says this? Author says this. And him and her here is, him is author, her is her wife. And the incident here is referred to when they were at Mysore in the sugarcane field and they were shooting the pigs. And suddenly they spotted a sloth bear coming out of the fields, and author's companions shot him. And then later they found a baby sloth bear on the back of the bear who was moving. And then author took him to Bangalore and gifted him to his wife. Okay, this was the incident. So now, as you can see that after reading and listening to the chapter very carefully, you are easily able to answer all these kind of questions. Yeah, it is very easy, right? So next, let's have a look on the next question. He stood on his head in delight. Who does he refer to? And why was he delighted? So the he here is Baba, and the incident took where? It was in the zoo when the author's wife came to visit Baba just to know that how he was doing. And when he saw her, and then he was very delighted and he stood on his head. Okay. Okay, so I answered second question as well. No, but the next all these questions, rest of the questions, you guys have to do yourself. Okay, it's a homework. Now, we all missed him greatly, but in a sense, we were relieved. Why does we all stand for? Who does we all stand for? And who did they miss? Why did they nevertheless feel relieved? Now, question number 4. On 2 occasions, Bruno ate or drank something that should not be eaten or drunk. What happened to him on these occasions? Number 5. Was Bruno a loving and playful pet? Why? Then did he have to be sent away? Hmm? This was an interesting question, right? How was the problem of what to do with Bruno finally solved? Think about that. Now, all these questions are done. I hope you will get them, and it's quite easy, right? If you have, uh, carefully studied the chapter, looked at this video thoroughly, then you will do all these kind of questions very, very easily.